Moving on now, Prime Minister Modi has been lauded for hard selling India at the World Economic Forum in Davos, from reaching out to world leaders to global CEOs to come and invest in India. But on Tuesday, his political rival, Congress President Rahul Gandhi, tweeted a swipe at Prime Minister Modi, blaming him for the uneven distribution of wealth in the country. He started the tweet with a sarcastic welcome to Switzerland Prime Minister. Well, what Mr. Gandhi should be doing is also brushing up on history and understanding a contrast. While Modi promoted India at the World Economic Forum, it turns out that a Congress minister attended the top meet in Davos to work against India's interests. The minister was talking about Madhav Singh Solanki, who was the External Affairs Minister in the Narasimha Rao government, a story that isn't well known, a story that the current generation of Indians may not have heard, a story that must be revisited given the context. Wion has accessed an affidavit which shows how the CBI, a premier investigating agency in India, sought the prosecution of Solanki for trying to scuttle the probe. No prizes for guessing who. Among the names was former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. The affidavit also shows that during his official visit to Davos, Solanki sought a meeting with his Swiss counterpart, Rien Felber. The meeting was arranged during the annual World Economic Conference in '92. Solanki requested that there should be no witnesses to the meeting. But during the meeting, Solanki gave Felber a sealed envelope and allegedly handed an unsigned fabricated memorandum. The CBI says Solanki tried to interfere with the ongoing Bofors investigation. The affidavit further says that Solanki claimed he had new information about the Bofors case and wanted to communicate that to the Swiss government. Felber allegedly told Solanki he was not responsible for justice matters. Soon enough, the parts of the story made it to the papers in India. Solanki had to resign from the Narasimha Rao cabinet in April of 1992. We spoke earlier to senior journalist Kanchan Gupta, who's been following the issue.
It was a particularly nasty tweet because the Prime Minister of the country was abroad. He was attending an important global conference. He was presenting the India story. And moments after he finishes his speech, there is this tweet by the official handle of Rahul Gandhi, which really was uncalled for. And I don't want to go into the details of what he had appended to that tweet, but that is what prompted me to respond to him and say that here is a Prime Minister who goes to Davos to sell the India story. And back in 1992, there was a Congress minister who traveled to Davos for the same conference, where he surreptitiously met the Swiss foreign minister and handed over a note saying that all investigations, and at that time, the courts in India had issued letters rogatory to the Swiss authorities seeking documents from Swiss banks because the bribe money had been cycled through or routed through Swiss accounts. And we needed those documents. Then letters rogatories had been issued. And the Swiss were acting on it. At that point, here is this Congress minister who goes to Davos and meets the Swiss foreign minister and tells him that please do not proceed with the investigation any further, stop the letters rogatory process, and we don't want to get to the bottom of it. Now, who authorized him, who handed over that memorandum to him, still remains a secret. I mean, nobody really knows. Prime Minister Narasimha Rao made an official statement both outside and inside Parliament saying that he was taken by surprise. He was totally unaware of it. He did not know what his minister was up to. So obviously somebody had handed over that memorandum to him. And it was really a shameful thing to do. They can't deny it because what the Swiss did, and the Swiss are definitely far better at handling corruption cases than us. So the Swiss foreign minister dutifully handed it over to the judicial process over there. And they put out that memorandum. And I think Chitra Subramaniam was the first person to get a copy of it. And she promptly put out a story in the Indian media on what was attempted. So credit for that goes to Chitra Subramaniam. As you said, that people of my generation would remember it. Public memory is short, people forget. But this is something which I think it was a self-goal by the official handle of Rahul Gandhi. He just revived one part of the Bofors story which people had forgotten about. The investigation was essentially aimed at two levels. One, we had the Swedes investigating into whether bribes were paid. That was the Swedish part of the investigation, and the second part was the Swiss investigation. In Switzerland, we were investigating what happened to the money that was paid. What was the money route? What was the money trail?
Right.
And that was essential to trace not only trace how the bribe was paid and how it traveled, but also to find out who were the beneficiaries. So Mr. Solanki, when he went and met the Swiss foreign minister, his aim was not to defend his government or save his government. His aim was to save and protect the beneficiaries of the Bofors scandal. So it is very clear. And he had to resign. I mean, in those days, India was slightly more outraged than it is today about cases of bribery. Mr. Solanki had to resign, and he had to resign and go in shame.